So, have you ever had a giant deadline looming, but instead of working, you find yourself suddenly deeply invested in, I don't know, reorganizing your sock drawer? Yeah, you are definitely in the right place. We're about to dig into the real reason we put things off, and trust me, it is probably not what you think. Oh, we have all been there. You know that feeling? You're staring at this mountain of tasks, and you just freeze. You do absolutely nothing. It's so frustrating, right? And it usually leaves you feeling pretty guilty. But what if I told you that this feeling has almost nothing to do with being lazy? That's the big secret, right there. Procrastination isn't some moral failing or a flaw in your character. It's actually your brain's weird, misguided attempt to protect you from bad feelings, like stress or fear or even just boredom. And getting your head around that one idea is the key to finally breaking free. Okay, first things first, we've got to define our terms. We tend to throw the words laziness and procrastination around like they're the same thing, but they're really not. Think of them less like identical twins and more like distant cousins. They might look a little similar, but deep down, they're totally different. So here's the bottom line. Laziness is about not wanting to act. You just don't feel like it, you don't see the point. Procrastination, on the other hand, is an active choice. You know the task is important, you know there will be negative consequences for delaying it, and you choose to put it off anyway. See the difference? One is just passive, the other is active self-sabotage. All right, let's tackle laziness first. Why do we sometimes feel that complete and utter unwillingness to do, well, anything? It really comes down to two main buckets: what's going on in our bodies and what's going on in our minds. I mean, just look at this list. It's so obvious when you see it laid out, right? If you're running on no sleep, bad food, or you're totally stressed out, your brain literally doesn't have the fuel to get going. And that last one, multitasking overload, that's a huge one. We think we're being productive, but we're really just burning ourselves out and getting nothing done. Okay, but what about those days when you've done everything right? You got a good night's sleep, you ate a salad, and you still just can't get off the couch. Well, that's when you know the roadblock isn't physical. It's psychological. When it comes to our minds, laziness is almost always about a lack of clarity or a lack of confidence. I mean, think about it. If you don't know what the goal is, how can you move toward it? And if you're stuck in indecision or you're just plain scared of failing, your brain hits the emergency brake and defaults to the safest option, doing nothing at all. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about procrastination, because this is where the really surprising stuff comes in. For years, we've been told it's just a problem with time management. But, well, the latest research says that's just not the whole story. This definition from a researcher named Piers Steele is so important. Look at those words, voluntarily and expecting to be worse off. This isn't just about making a bad schedule. It's a completely irrational behavior. We know it's a bad idea. We know it's going to make things worse. So why on earth do we do it? And here it is. This is the big aha moment. Procrastination has very little to do with managing your time and everything to do with managing your emotions. The moment a task makes us feel bad, whether that's anxious, bored, insecure, whatever, our brain's knee-jerk reaction is to make that bad feeling go away. And the fastest way to do that? Avoid the task. And this avoidance creates this really nasty feedback loop. You see the big, scary project. A wave of anxiety washes over you. Your brain screams, abort, escape. So you open up Instagram or you go get a snack, and you get this instant hit of relief, but it's temporary. And what you've just done is you've taught your brain that the best way to handle negative feelings is to run away. And it's not always about a giant, overwhelming project. All these other things can trigger that same emotional escape response. Perfectionism makes you anxious that your work won't be good enough. You can be afraid of failing, or even afraid of succeeding. These are all just different flavors of the same bad feelings that our brain is desperately trying to avoid. Okay, so that's the why, we get it. Now for the most important part. What do we actually do about it? How do we break this cycle? Let's talk strategy and build a little toolkit for ourselves. So way back when, Sigmund Freud talked about this battle happening inside all of us. You've got the pleasure principle, that's the part of you that wants to feel good right now. And then you have the reality principle, which understands that sometimes you have to put off feeling good now for a much better reward later. Our goal is to give that reality principle a little more power. You know, there's even a fancy term for this whole thing, a negative emotional coping response. It just means that your brain is trying to cope with bad feelings by running away. So the secret isn't to stop trying to cope, it's about learning better, healthier ways to cope with those feelings. So here's a super simple but really powerful process. First, the next time you feel that urge to procrastinate, just stop and name the feeling. Just say, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. No judgment. Second, get up and physically move. Go to another room, walk outside. Breaking your physical state can totally break your mental state. And finally, use your logical brain. Just ask yourself, how much better will I feel in an hour if I just do this now? And here are a few more tools for your kit. Take that massive project and break it down into teeny tiny non-scary steps. Bribe yourself. Promise yourself a reward for finishing even one of those steps. And maybe most importantly, be kind to yourself. Beating yourself up just adds another layer of negative emotion that you're trying to escape from. All right, now for a really cool twist. We spent all this time treating laziness and procrastination like they're the enemy. But what if there's a silver lining? You heard that right. It turns out that really successful people don't just crush these tendencies into dust. They actually learn how to harness them and use them to their advantage. Let's see how they do it. This is such a powerful reframe. What you might call laziness can actually be strategic rest. It's not avoiding work, it's recharging so you can come back stronger. And what feels like procrastination can become strategic planning, not delaying out of fear, but taking the time to think things through so you don't just rush in blindly. It really all comes down to one thing: intention. Why are you doing it? Are you taking a break because your body and mind actually need to refuel for the next big push? Or are you taking a break to escape from something that feels hard? The action might look the same from the outside, but the intention behind it changes everything. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the why behind procrastination and the how to deal with it, forget about fixing this forever. Just think about right now. What is the absolute smallest, easiest, most achievable step you can take on that thing you've been putting off right after this is over? Thanks so much for tuning in.